level. No matter where you are. Our emerging leaders, raise your hand. Okay. This is a good point for you to think about is look across the room. Whenever you're at a conference, know who's in the room. Know why you came, who you can connect with. Okay, so I met him, so today we're going to talk about what he's doing. I see the emerging leaders. Always have your eye across the room. Who's in the room? So you know who to go talk to. So we got our emerging leaders. Who are some of our more senior leaders? Raise your hand so they can see you so they'll know who to talk to you. You've been in your position longer than a year. Okay, thank you. Okay, if you've been in your position longer than a year, you have some insight to share. So I want you to focus on the fact that leadership happens at every level. No matter where you are today, you can lead from your presence, from your experience, from your insight. So I always like to say you really have the power to grow an orchard. Individuals eat, leaders grow. So you want to make sure that you're not just eating, and if you do eat, you take that seed and you plant it. So today we're planting that seed, replanting whatever you learned in the conference. So when you're in your breakout sessions, we don't have any shy leaders in here today. Wait, the shy leaders got real quiet on the lab. We want to make sure that you can share what you learned, that you can grow a whole orchard. You know, when I work with clients, oftentimes I'm not necessarily working with clients who just want to know one thing. We're talking about building models. We're talking about today, why you joined the why you're here, why your purpose aligned, how you want to multiply your mission through your position, okay? So when we talk about your why, I want you to write down some answers for yourself. So you have this great idea, I assume, because you're here in the room, about what you wanted to do with your purpose, right? Right, okay, so let me do a mic check real quick. I want your voices to bounce off my mic. You guys had a reason why you came today, right? Yes. Right, you want to elevate your purpose, right? Yes. You want to get on your mission, right? Yes. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about doing. We're going to do it in real time. So when you think about your why, I want you to think about your purpose. I want you to think about your mission, and I want you to think about your vision. Every leader understands their purpose. And you might not understand all of it, but you have a little inkling about something that you like about what you do, right? Right? And if you can do just that thing, you be excited about doing just that thing all the time, right? A little bit, right? I mean, we all have to work, so we might as well serve in the space that we love. So when you think about your purpose, always have the goodness, the excited part about what you do in your pocket, so that when your executive team asks you, what do you want to do? What might else do you want to focus on? So what is your purpose? Why do you feel like you're here? What are you being positioned to do? These are things that don't just happen in one day. You start realizing, I like this. I feel better when that happens. I want to volunteer and be on a team that does that, even if I'm not getting paid. Because I'm going to tell you, you will get to a place in your position where you will measure your impact rather than your dollars. So, I remember when I was building up in the company, God was like, did you eat today? Do you have gas in your car? Is your lease paid for? Are you good? Okay, go back to work. Build on the impact. And now my payment is being in places like this. This is the payment I get. I'm super excited to be able to help and share what I learned. And so I don't want you guys to take for granted what you learned. As far as your jobs, I always say life is a class and your salary is a tuition for your life. You are being paid to learn what you want to learn based on where you want to go. And if you're not in a position where that's really where you want to be, you want to start transitioning maybe to another department. You want to transition into another space because you want to be purpose-filled all the time. And your mission is what you have the drive to do. I'm going to take this purpose. I want a mission to do it. I would do this if they didn't pay me and I could still eat. I would do this regardless because this is my mission. This is what I'm excited about. Don't you want to work with leaders who are excited about what they do? Yes. Right? How many of you want to work with people who really didn't care? Not outside the white, of course. Right? So if you want to be that leader, as you're building in your space, you want to be that leader that people are excited about. You want to go on that train. You want people to be able to say, I want to ride on the train on where she's going, where he's going. I want this. And not just do I want to ride on it, I want to contribute to it. I have a ticket. I understand it through my purpose, and this is where I'm supposed to be. And now I can add that to the mission of where we're going intentionally. So when you're looking at your purpose, your mission, and your vision, what vision do you have for your particular purpose? What vision do you walk into the office with? Even if you don't have the opportunity, especially as emerging leaders, we can't always contribute to the big picture, but have it in your pocket. Because one day, through your passion, people will ask you, what do you really want to do? I mean, I think about receptionists, right? I think about how many times somebody works as a receptionist and they think, oh, well, what do I have to contribute? And then they answer the phone, and every time they answer the phone, they're a light of joy. And so then people start coming in and asking, what do you really want to do? How can you really serve in this space? Because they're so fired up about where they are currently positioned, people are going to ask you what's next. And you need to have a what when they ask? A little louder? Answer. Yes, you need to have an answer. You need to have a vision. You need to have a what? Okay, so I'm looking for voices in the room that are going to contribute to the room. Okay? Because what I want you to walk away with is, I don't want you just to say, I came to this conference and they fed us and it was good. I want you to be able to take a seed from it. I want you to be inspired by it. I want you to be excited about where you are going next. You guys want that too? Yes. Okay, wonderful. So let's move forward. Always have a vision for wherever you serve. Always have a vision for your life. And be agile enough to know that it might not happen exactly like you want it to happen, but keep it in your pocket so that when it's asked, you have an answer, right? And team building, we're always going to build together, vision together, so keep that in mind. I also want you to consider being dedicated. Asking yourself, now you don't have to be real loud if you're not as dedicated as you want to be, but ask yourself, how dedicated am I? If I was given the opportunity to serve where I really want to serve within the why, how dedicated am I to see it through its ups and downs? Because for those of us who are in the trenches of the work, we know that work is work. Even when you love it, it's work. You gotta get on a plane, it's work. You gotta stay late, it's work. You gotta feed into other people, it's work. You wanna love the work that you do on a daily basis. And dedication is gonna be something that you have to test yourself. I always say you need to have a syllabus for yourself. Your company is not graduating you to your next level. You are graduating yourself to your next level. What's on your syllabus to learn? How are you going to be different in 6 months? What do you want to graduate into? Those kind of questions are going to help you ask the right questions every day when you're working. You're going to do what you need to do, and then you're going to be able to move forward and ask those questions. So dedication, how dedicated am I? What time do I have to do this? What does it look like? And then we talk about what's next after dedication. What's next? Insight. Right. Insight. How much insight do you have? How many of you all have been working for over 10 years at any job? Okay. So I'm going to ask the question, how many of you all realize how much insight you have as a group? Right? It was maybe like a tenth of the people who've been working for over 10 years, and that's normal. Because what happens is that you do all this work, you learn, but you don't take inventory. And the way that you move forward as a leader is to stand on your success. So you have to start taking inventory about where you've been, what you know, because that's the insight I want you guys to share with each other today. And so sometimes we're quiet because we don't realize how much information and how much insight we have to add to a conversation. So I want you to take stock. Tonight when you're in your hotel or you're going back wherever you're staying, start thinking about, what do I know? And how did I know it? How did I learn that? How do I add to what is happening in this space on a daily basis? What insight do I have? And now here's the big question. What's the next one? Right, at 100% of volume in the room, what's the next piece? Impact. Right, what impact do you want to have? Not just what do I want to do, what impact, what effect? How am I going to move things forward regardless of what's going on? At the end of the day, when we're talking about legacy, we're talking about impact. I always say if you're not leaving a legacy, you're just leaving. You want to build a legacy. You want to plant a seed that grows an orchard. You want to make sure that when you leave, people will say, oh, you know what, I work with Caitlin, or she retired, but when she was here, this is what she did. And we can build on that. This is solid ground. Somebody has to tend the ground. How many of you guys have ever worked in a space where it was like nothing there? You had to come in from the beginning. No money, no resources, and somebody said, here, you have a vision? How hard is that? Very hard, because sometimes you're lacking what? You don't have what? Resources, right? So you got to figure out, and oftentimes as a leader, your resources are not your check. People will write a check for your vision. Most people are not visionaries. More people have money than they have vision. Just let that sit for a second. Because people will invest in your vision because they don't know how to do what you've been gifted to do. And if you can tell them and you can help them along the way, they will invest in that space. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's effort, sometimes it's whatever it is that they have to help you meet your mission in order to have an impact. So some people are tending the ground when we're creating this orchard. Some people are planting the seeds. Some people have to water it. You have to figure out, where am I in this space? Some people are harvesting. They don't necessarily have the vision. You don't have to be all things, but you do need to figure out, how do I want to contribute? Want to contribute. Need to contribute, because this is what it is. If you will volunteer at your job, you know you're in the right place. If you would do it as a part-time something, I'm going to come over there to the Y, and this is what I want to do, you know you're in the right place. You want to make sure that you're in a space that you can have impact. And how you're heard, because usually it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, I have impact, but I don't know if they really hear me. How you're heard is based on the little things that you say. And people need to know if they can trust the little things that you say, and they'll ask more and more questions along the way. And then you start getting invited to other things like today. Because you are not here because you didn't want to be here. You're here because somebody saw that you needed to be here. Your voice needs to be in the room. So, as we move forward, the last piece is what? Influence. What influence do I have? Okay, I want you to write this down. What influence do I have, and what influence do I need? Oftentimes, building relationships are like trading cards. You have to figure out what you have, and then what you can give to somebody, and then what you need. And that's what you guys need to figure out today. Because you're going to meet so many people in this room, or you're going to see so many people that you already know, but you have not necessarily asked the right questions. Sometimes I'm working with executives, they're like, oh, we know each other. We've been together for 20 years. We worked on the same team. And I'll say, okay, ask them these 4 questions. And they're like, oh my God, I never knew Bob did this. I never knew about this. Because you have to be intentional about the questions that you ask to meet your mission, so that you can build a legacy, so that you can continue to serve at the level that you need to serve at. So we're talking about influence. What influence do I have? And it's not always going to be parallel. Somebody might say, what's your name starting orange? DJ. DJ might say, I don't know how much influence I have, but I do know my brother is the head of a private school, right? So his brother might be the head of a private school. He might trade that card with somebody else who has something that he needs. So when you're meeting people, when you're networking, you're listening for need. What do they need? What do I have? How can I share? What resources do we have that we can move things forward collectively as a whole, but also personally? Because oftentimes your relationships with your leaders are not going to be about exactly what your job is doing. It's going to be about, hey, can you do me a favor? Do you know anybody who can do this? And you're going to build relationships, and then you'll start talking about what that mission is. And you want to be able to have influence. How many people all want to have more influence than you have currently? Right? And you want to have influence so that you can do what? Make an impact. Right? You see a lot of people today, and no disrespect to social media, but you have a lot of people who are influencers on social media. But the question is, what are you influencing? How are you influencing? And can you stand by in 50 years what you're talking about on social media today? Have you had an impact? Are you an influencer at this level? So today, I really want you to grow and lead. Right now, I can hear that you're growing because you're quiet. But I want you to lead. We're going to have an exercise where you guys are going to tell us. You're going to tell the room so people can get to know who you are in real time today. You're going to lead through your conversations. You're going to lead through your introductions. You're going to lead through what's happening in these breakout sessions. Bring your thoughts to the table. So when we talk about sharing your perspective, when you walk into a room and you're in a leadership space, what are they saying? What do I have? What's my inventory? How can I give? How can I live? What can I do in this space? How can I move this forward today? Sometimes you're going to be quiet. But you want to make sure that whatever you say moves the space, or you ask a question that can help you move within your mission. So share your perspective. You guys should be fighting over spaces on who gets to raise their hand. The time is going to be up in the breakout session. I didn't get to ask my question. Right? That's why you came. You didn't just come because you just wanted to see somebody on the stage, right? Right. You want to go home with some things in your pocket. So I want you to share share your perspective because the things that you know, other people need to know. The things that you have insight on, they need to know. They can learn in real time. The rest of these next 2 days should be so impactful. When you go home, you should be like, whoa, my bag is full. Let me sort through it. Let me see what I've learned. The other thing is, I want you to listen. Have an ear to gain insight. Find out what other people know. Pick a stranger. Okay, how do you serve? Tell me more. You should be listening according to your mission, according to your purpose, according to how what they have can help you move forward as a servant leader in this space. And then the other is what? You're going to do what today? Yes, with who? Everybody you can. I want you to form strategic partnerships. When you leave and you go back into your offices and they say, hey, you had that, you were at the conference. What did you do? I want you to have a list because this is business. This is the business of impact. I met this person, I met that person, we're going to talk about this. Oftentimes, companies spend millions of dollars collectively on conferences and sending their leaders to conferences. And they don't necessarily get the return on their investment because we're not forming strategic partnerships. We're not going in there to ask questions, how can we do what we need to do? Why do I know you? Right? So always think about the fact that you know somebody on purpose. There's a reason why you're here. Forming strategic partnerships is so important. So, on your journey today, you guys feel like you've been on a journey? Journey in your leadership. Some people are here, some people are there. You're always going to be going up a mountain, and sometimes it's just a matter of which valley you're in. Because the higher up you go, you're going to go into another top of the mountain, and it's going to have a valley by itself. But you should be going up higher and higher and higher and higher. The valley is just higher because you're still doing the work and you're still having impact. So, a couple of things that I want you to take away today. I want you to be empowered. Empowered means you have the authority. I want you to feel like you have the authority within your purpose, within your mission, within your vision, within your partnership, within your position. I want you to be empowered today. I want you to be empowered within your communities. Now, I know everybody does different, they serve in different spaces within the Y, but who do you have access to on a regular basis? Are you guys all sitting with other leaders every day? No. So some of you are sitting with who? Somebody raise your hand and tell me who they actually do around every day. Community, co-workers, clients, right? So who you are, it's funny. Who you are, the light around who you are should be present everywhere you go. People should want to be around you all the time. If the grounding is lit, people should want to gravitate, even if you're not perfectly aligned. They should be asking you, what do you do? Well, can you tell me a little bit about more? Because I just want to be around you in this space. So, I want you to think about being empowered. The second thing I want you to think about is to develop and strengthen purpose-driven, impactful, meaningful relationships. How you doing is good. How you doing? Yeah, this is nice. It was good. Dinners are nice. No. Why did I come? How many of you guys could have been someplace else today? By show of hands, this is leadership. Show of hands, right? You could have been someplace else today, but you came here for purpose. Get what you came for. Take those seeds and be prepared to share them with your community. The next thing I want you to think about is what? What does it say? Yes, just a little bit louder. Engage through your ideas. How many of you guys have ideas that you've never shared with your coworkers? Okay. I want you to take a moment with your pen and paper, and I want you to write down 3 ideas that you have had about your position and how you can move your environment further at your work. And I'm going to give you like 2 minutes just to write down 3 ideas you have about where you serve.